I think we'll do a fairly good job, but it's not going to answer all the problems this first season. It will take 2 or 3 summer windows to get to a better place.
That there is Jim Ratcliffe in a brand new interview where he discusses a hell of a lot of things. He discusses Todibo's non-move to Manchester United. He discusses this summer window with United. He discusses Real Madrid, the ambitions of United, rule changes, ownership of Nice, a load of stuff. Luckily, I'm going to summarise absolutely everything for you in this video. So give me 10 minutes of your time. Make sure you drop a like on the video. It does make a big difference to the channel. Let's see if we can reach, I don't know, 4,000 likes in this video. I never do these targets, but maybe it'll work. Anyway, I'm going to run into this. Probably not going to run into it. Run through this interview. And I'm going to start by taking a look at what Jim Ratcliffe had to say about transfers. All right? Lo and behold, there's room for improvement at Manchester United. Groundbreaking news, I know. This is what Jim Ratcliffe said. There's room for improvement everywhere we look at United. We will improve everything. And I think I've said this before. Like, I'm not sure there's any part of United that I would personally look at and go, that's perfect. Maybe the academy system as it is, but I'm sure you can always slightly improve. But pretty much every other aspect of our football club is just behind where it should be. He said here that we want to be where Real Madrid is today, but it will take time. It will take 2 or 3 summer windows to get to a better place. And Ineos and Ratcliffe have reiterated this since day one. Sort of the calls for patience. We can't do everything we want to do this summer. In fact, Jim Ratcliffe went one step further and said, I'm not really confident. I'm not confident we're going to solve it all in the first transfer window. Because we won't solve all our problems in the first transfer window. And I've maintained this since day one, not day one, but over the last 10 years or so. The money has not been the issue. Net spend of 1.1 billion since Fergie went in comparison to Real Madrid. The issue has been where the money has been spent, in squad building. He's saying that Real Madrid is 200 million compared to United's 1.1 billion net spend. They have 6 or 7 players valued at over 100 mil. United, diddly squat. And they've done the Bernabeu. Man, they've got Goulet, they've got Mbappe coming in, they've got Camavinga, they've got Bellingham, they've got Valverde, they've got everything. Real Madrid have done it right. And it should really be where Manchester United are aiming to get back towards. But it's going to take some time. And look, this summer is not the summer where United can go out and spend 70, 80 million on any individual. It's a summer where we're going to be squad building, right? And one player that we thought was going to be part of that was Jean-Claire Todibo. And I'm going to run through now the second part of this interview where he speaks in quite a lot of detail about the rules and regulations. Now, of course, these rules and regulations are stopping Manchester United from signing Jean-Claire Todibo. Doesn't stop Man City from signing Savio. Sorry. There's something stuck in my throat there. Indirect or direct, whatever you want to call it. Jim Ratcliffe's not particularly happy everything that goes on. Went here as far, I'm sure he's in jest, but it's sort of indicative, really. We've got more accountants than we have sporting people at Manchester United. The amount of regulation that exists is mad. You've got financial rules inside the Premier League, financial rules inside the UEFA, which are different. And you have to abide by 2 different rules at the same time, which makes it difficult to navigate, right? But Jim Ratcliffe is definitely not a fan of the idea of an independent regulator in the Premier League. That's what Ratcliffe says. And this is definitely Jim Ratcliffe's billionaire business head speaking here, right? Not really owning Manchester United, although those 2 are the same things. If you start interfering too much, introducing too many regulations, the Premier League will end up spending more time in court than thinking about what's good for the league. And he went in a little bit more detail here, speaking about the anchoring. Now, the anchoring is where you would anchor the amount a top club can spend, who finishes first, compared to how much the bottom club can finish in terms of wages and revenue, and anchoring the bottom to the top. And he said that would inhibit the top teams in the league competing with the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern, and PSG. And he went one little step further. And he says, look, I can understand why City are challenging the Premier League. I don't think that there is specifically to do with the 115 reasons, because that's very, very different. But I think he's talking, as I said, about that anchoring of it. It feels like anchoring is going to be, if it happens, is going to be the next version of an FFP that doesn't really work and eventually gets rolled out, it gets pushed out for something else. All right. Now, something that Ratcliffe spoke about here, which I think it was Miguel Delaney who said that Ineos were thinking about it. It's funny that Delaney got it wrong. Saying he has no intention to sell Nice. because he wants the multi-club ownership model at Manchester United. I believe it means that this season he has to put Nice into a blind trust, which think as far as UEFA are concerned, then shows that Ineos and Ratcliffe are hands off from Nice. So therefore they can own both Nice and Manchester United, who are competing in the same competitions. It's all just, everything's just a grey area. And if it's not a grey area, you've got, as I said, lawyers who are expensive enough that they find loopholes. But Jim Ratcliffe has no intention of going away from the multi-club ownership model. I personally wish that the multi-club ownership model was abolished and banned. But that had to be banned at source before any existed. Now that they exist, you won't be able to stop them. There's no way that any UEFA rules will be able to stop the City Football Group. The UEFA aren't really in charge anymore. And I think this interview here, a lot of it's to do with rules and regulations and Ratcliffe's frustration, ultimately, at two things. Number one, directly here with Todibo. So, effectively, if Jim Ratcliffe wanted to do what Man City have done, they could, in theory, sell Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice to Lausanne, both owned by Ineos. And then Manchester United loan Todibo from Lausanne for the season. And maybe if you can't do two transfers in the same window, all right, well, just rip up Todibo's contract and then just sign him as a free transfer. And just give him a massive signing-on fee, which is equivalent to how much was left in his contract. There's nothing illegal about that, but it's absolutely indirectly just doing exactly what City have done with Savio, Troyes, who they own, Girona, who they own, and City, who they own. And he's reiterating what we already know and what Ratcliffe's already said before and saying, look, the coach is not the big problem at Manchester United. It's a sports club. It needs to be competitive. It needs a degree of intensity, but with a supportive side to it because you are dealing with players who are relatively young. It hasn't had that type of environment historically. I think he's more leaning on the fact that when the class of 92 came through, they came into a club that had Cantona, Keane, Bruce, real characters, real leaders who could guide the younger players. Right now, Manchester United, our sole striker is a 21-year-old we signed from Atalanta. The player who was probably our breakout player last season was Mainu from the academy, who's now 19. Garnacho played 38 consecutive games and he's 19. We're a team relying on kids. We were last season. But going back to that first point there, I think it is going to take time at Manchester United. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure how confident I am anymore. I think at the start of the window, I asked for all of your opinions on, if you had to rate it out of 10, how confident are you that Manchester United are going to have the summer that we need to have this summer? Not everything's going to get done, but how confident about this summer? I think the general consensus was about a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I think I'll probably edge towards a 5 now. I'm not confident it's going to get done. This whole Todibo stuff, it's an added spanner in the works. But what do you think about that interview overall from Jim Ratcliffe? He spoke about, as I said, transfers in quite a bit of detail. He spoke about multi-club ownership, regulations. He's clearly not happy. And as I said, that's the billionaire Ratcliffe coming out rather than the owner of Manchester United. He wants to be able to spend Manchester United's revenues and his own money. No question about the debt yet. I wonder when that question will come back up. But you can let me know what you think in the comments below. That's the Jim Ratcliffe full interview. Covered all the main points anyway. The rest is a little bit of fluff. So there you go. 9 minutes of your time. Completely bang up to date. Drop a like on the video. Go on.